Hey, we're going to be doing this Pilates sequence with a magic circle or an alternative prop if you don't have one. And we're going to start by standing feet hip distance apart. So that's roughly the distance of 2 fists between your feet if you wanted to test that out. And then we're going to bring that circle towards our chest and start with some breaths as we inhale through the nose and then exhale through the mouth, squeezing that circle together. Inhale as we breathe in, expand the ribcage and expand the circle at the same time. Exhale through the mouth, push through the circle. We'll go for a couple more, thinking of that ribcage moving in time with the circle. And then we can add some rises as well. Rising up onto those toes as you squeeze into the circle and gently releasing those heels down as you release the circle. We're going to keep our weight even through both feet and all toes, especially those big toes, so we're not rolling outwards onto the outsides of our ankles. And as we lower those heels down, I want you to imagine there's a heavy weight pushing up against your heels at the same time. We're resisting that movement. And then we can start to involve those arms as well, reaching that circle down as we draw our heels up, and then drawing the circle above our head as we lower those heels down. And we can think of adding some resistance through those arms into that circle, squeezing down, so engaging those lats underneath the armpits. On this next one, we're going to stay on that rise, lift those arms towards the sky, and rotate that torso over towards one side, back through the center and over to the other. So keeping stable on those ankles, drilling those toes down, lifting those heels, and just rotating through the upper part of our body. Think of keeping that head in line with that sternum, coming back through the center, holding for a moment, and then lowering those heels down, bringing that circle back towards the chest. We're going to send those hips back into a squat as we reach that circle forward and then come to stand with that circle towards our chest. Reaching away, sending those hips back, drawing both in as we exhale. We can lift that right heel up off the mat, do the same thing here. Reaching the circle away, exhaling to draw back in. That right heel is staying lifted, pushing those toes down. Reaching away, exhaling back in, lowering that heel and switching to the other side, lifting that left heel, sending those arms away, sending those hips back, exhale, drawing back in. We'll go for 2 more, reaching away, exhaling back in. Inhale, we reach, send those hips back, exhale to draw back in. This time we'll lower through the center, lifting both heels off, squatting those hips down, down, down. We're pulsing down. Keep the breath going, pulsing with each exhale if you want. Lowering the heels, lifting the heels, lowering the heels and lifted, keeping those hips low, just moving from those shins, lifting and lowering. Aiming to keep the head at the same height and the upper body still here, just moving that lower half. We're going to hold at the top, lower those heels, and then come to standing. We're going to turn and face the front of our mat, step back with the right foot, come into this lunge, exhale, rotate over towards your left, draw that knee in towards the center as you drive up to standing. And again, send that foot back, knee towards the mat, circle to chest as you rotate, come back through the center, knee to chest. And again, inhaling as you rotate, exhale. Drag that knee in, send that knee back. So we're working through our core, through our quads, through our ankles, through our arms as we push into that circle, working through the whole body and really testing that balance and stability, and then adding that extra resistance as we press into that circle. Now we can stay low, extend that circle up and overhead as we extend that back knee, reaching away, extending that leg, and then drawing in as we bend through the knee. And again, through this movement, we want to try and keep our head fairly still, just shifting forwards and backwards rather than bobbing up and down. And it's that extension of the leg that's helping us do this. Last one, we're going to stay through the center, pulsing down with that knee. Knee almost to the mat, pulsing down, down, down. Last 2, and then coming to stand, we're going to reach that back leg up off the floor higher, extending it behind us, pointing through the toe, pulsing up to the sky, up, 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 reaching it away, drawing it in, and then shaking off those legs, We're going to switch over onto the other side now. This time stepping that left leg back behind, coming into this lunge. Trying to keep that balance, unlike me, stepping into that lunge. And then exhale as you rotate over towards the right, drawing that knee in towards the chest again. Stepping that leg back into the lunge, rotating, squeezing into the circle, standing up, drawing that knee in towards the chest. And again, keeping this movement going. Using that circle for support, and you'll probably find one side might be a little more balanced than the other. So this side I think is my bad side, as you can see, a little bit unsteady, but keep the breath going with this. And then trying to keep that movement quite fluid, trying not to let that foot touch down on the mat each time. And that back knee hovering just off the mat, and then reaching forward with that circle, extending that leg to straight, drawing it back in. Reaching, and then drawing in. Again, gliding forwards and backwards. Finding that full extension through that back knee, and then drawing it in to hover just off the mat again. We'll go for 3 more, reaching, exhaling, drawing back in. Last 2. And last 1, reaching away, drawing back in, pulses down this time, pulsing down, 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 almost to the mat. Pulsing, and then reaching that leg back in, extending it back behind us, pointing through those toes, pulsing the leg up towards the sky, finding that balance, squaring off those hip bones, and then drawing that leg in, shaking those legs off. Nice work, reaching that circle up towards the sky, opening the chest, and then exhale, nodding the chin towards the chest, rolling down through the spine, articulating through each vertebrae. Exhale, rolling back up through the spine again. Inhale as you lift those arms, looking up towards the sky, opening that chest. Exhale, nod the chin towards the chest, drawing that circle down, rolling down through the spine. Inhaling when you get to the bottom, and exhaling, rolling back up. Feeling that nice stretch through the spine as you inhale, open up. Exhale, nod the chin towards the chest, rolling down. Separating the space between each vertebrae. And then letting those knees drop down towards the mat. That circle's going to come between those inner thighs. And then we're going to have those hips above those knees, shoulders above those wrists. Tuck the toes underneath us. And then exhale as we hover those knees up off the mat, squeezing into the circle. Inhale, tapping those knees back down. Exhale, we lift and squeeze. Inhale, tap and release. So keeping that nice box position with our body, looking down at the mat, down between those hands. We're pushing the floor away, and that head is nice and in line with that spine. So imagining we're holding up the ceiling with the back of that neck as we keep those legs moving. And we're feeling those inner thighs working here. Last one, we're going to hold it at the top, pulse into that circle. Those inner thighs are working harder as we squeeze in, keeping the knees hovering. And then we're going to hold it there. Some deep breaths in, exhaling through the mouth. Pulsing into that circle again. We're going for another round, squeezing in. Lower those knees down, release the circle, and swivel ourselves around to come sit down on the mat with that circle in front of us, our arms parallel to the mat. We're going to start by sitting with a tall spine, sat on those sit bones, and then exhale as you curve under from the base of your spine, rolling back away from those thighs. Inhale to roll back up, stacking the vertebrae. Exhale, tuck under with that pelvis, rolling away as you press into that magic circle. Inhale, rolling up, pull the circle apart. Exhale, tucking under with the pelvis, reaching that lower back towards the mat. And inhale, rolling back up, sitting tall in that spine. Exhale, think of tucking under. Inhaling, opening up. Exhale, reaching and rolling away, pressing into that circle. That lower back can come a little further now, touching onto the mat. Inhaling, opening up, pulling those arms towards the sky. And then drawing those arms back down to parallel, curving under, rolling down and away, touching that lower back down. Inhaling, rolling back up, opening the chest as you reach those arms to the sky. Working through this with this bigger range of motion this time, finding that lower back connection, and then opening through the chest at the top. On this next one, as we roll down and away, we're going to roll towards that right hand side, arms reaching. Inhale, come back up through the center towards the sky. Exhale, roll down and towards the left. So the arms are twisting side to side, rotating that torso as you go. So we're moving the torso as well as the arms. Exhale as you sweep the arms towards the sides. Inhale, back up towards the sky. We'll go for another one in each direction. Inhaling, last one towards the left. Coming back up through the center. This time rolling down through the center. We're going to hold it halfway back, or a height that you can keep, and then lift those arms towards those ears. Draw them back down. So we're keeping that torso still and just moving those arms up and down. Keeping that tension through the arms, through that magic circle, that torso staying still, holding it strong. And then we'll hold this one back, draw that circle in towards our chest, squeeze into it. We're going to pulse in, and then release. Pulse in, and then release. Exhaling through the pulses, inhaling to release, holding that torso strong. And we go again, pulsing and release, pulse and release. Reaching that circle forwards, drawing ourselves up, opening the chest at the top, exhaling, rolling down through the center again, touching that lower back down as slowly as you can, rolling the rest of the spine down, arms go overhead. We're going to inhale as we lift the arms, look towards those toes, exhale, reach up, inhale, open the chest, exhale, tuck under the pelvis, rolling down and away, lower back touches, arms go overhead as the rest of the chest lowers. Inhale, look to those knees, press that lower back down, exhale, squeeze and roll up. Inhale, opening at the top. And again, we exhale, rolling back, slowing the movement down, reaching overhead, reaching forwards, pressing that belly button down as we roll up, coming to sit tall to then reach up and overhead. Drawing those arms to parallel again. We're going to loop those legs through the circle. So the outside of the ankles are going to be pressing into the sides of that circle. We're going to reach back and come to our forearms. We're going to push those forearms down into the mat so we can draw those shoulders away from those ears and bring those legs to tabletop. Inhale as you tap those toes down towards the mat. Exhale, squeeze them back up and then extend those legs. Inhale, tap those toes. Exhale, draw back up to tabletop, extending to straight. And again, working through tabletop each time, on the way up and on the way down. Through this, we're focusing on pressing those forearms down, opening through the chest, but also pulling that belly button in so we're not arching through that lower back. Reaching those toes away, nice, finding that tabletop position each time with those shins parallel to the mat, finding that length through those legs. On this next one, we're going to extend, hold them straight, and then we're going to rotate those legs, semicircling those legs around each other, one leg above, one leg below, rotating but keeping that torso still and facing forward. Last one, drawing those knees back into the tabletop, lowering those feet down onto the mat, and then we're going to lower that chest down, keeping that circle where it is around those ankles. We're going to reach those arms back and overhead so we can interlace those fingers and bring them behind the head, lifting those elbows up off the floor. And then exhale as you lift the head, neck and chest, look between those inner thighs. Inhale to lower. Exhale as we lift. Inhale to lower. We're keeping those elbows at the same distance from each other the whole time, so they're not closing in on our head, just in our peripheral vision. On the next one, if you want, we can start to involve those legs. So inhale as you lower, extend those legs away. Exhale, draw those knees into tabletop, lifting the chest. Inhale, lower and extend. Exhale, lift and draw in. Inhale, exhale in. We're going to lower our chest down, reach those legs up towards the sky, and then reach those arms up and overhead. Exhale as you lift those arms to the outside of that right knee, lifting the chest with it. Exhale over towards the left. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift and reach to the right. Inhale back through the center. Exhaling over to the left. So we're rotating each side, thinking of lifting those shoulder blades high up off the mat each time, rotating that torso, getting that whole chest moving and rotating. Use that exhale to help lift your chest higher each time. Inhaling back through the center, hugging those knees in. And we're going to readjust those feet and get those feet set up with our legs extended, one leg through the circle, resting inside, holding it in place, and the other leg free. We're going to bring that top leg to tabletop position, our hands behind our head. As we exhale, hug in towards that knee, lifting the chest. Inhale, lower and extend that leg above the circle. Exhale, reach and tuck in. Inhale, lower, extend that leg through the circle. So that top leg is threading through and above that circle, working its way in and out while that chest is moving up and down, just alternating through that. Now we can keep that chest lifted on this next one, reaching that top leg on top of that circle. We'll move with that opposite leg instead. Same movement, just that underneath leg. This time we're fighting to keep that magic circle stable, using that opposite leg on top of the circle, pressing down into it, engaging through those quads, through the hamstrings, through that core as you lift and lower. Finishing off your last one, threading that leg through, and this time we're switching sides. So that leg that was just on top is going to come in through to the center of the circle this time. That opposite leg is going to thread in and out. So opposite knee to before. Starting with that first variation on that opposite side, exhaling as we lift up, inhaling as you lower that chest, threading that leg away, reaching in the opposite direction to the chest, in and out of that circle. Last one, extending that leg, placing it on top of that circle, switching over the legs this time. Exhaling as you lift, inhale, lower and reach away. So that extended leg is staying pressing down on that circle. You might feel a little shake here as you press down, engaging through the backs of the legs, through that whole body as you lift and then reach away. Elbows still staying in your peripheral vision. Finishing off that last one, bringing both knees to tabletop, extending both arms forwards. We're going to go for that 100. We're going to pulse those arms down. Pulsing, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Those shoulder blades are staying lifted. We're looking between those inner thighs, keeping that breath going, reaching, keep those shoulder blades lifted, pulsing down, nice, pressing that belly button down, pulsing for the last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering the chest down, take a little breather, hugging those knees in towards the chest. And then when you're ready, rocking up to a seated position, we're going to grab a hold of that circle and this time sit tall on our spine, tall on our sit bones as we extend those legs forward, pointing through those toes. We're going to squeeze those legs together as we tuck under with that pelvis, roll down the mat, reaching those arms up and overhead. Inhale, lift, look towards those toes, press that belly button down, exhale, reach up and over. Rolling up and over as if you're rolling over a giant ball. Inhale at the top, exhale as you roll back down through the spine. Inhale, reaching up and overhead. And again, we inhale as we lift, look towards those toes, press that belly button down, reach up and over as we exhale, reaching, getting that C curve through the spine, keeping that C curve as you exhale, roll back down and away. Arms go overhead, last one here. Inhale, reaching up, closing that rib cage as you lift up off the ground, reaching forwards, and then exhaling to stack that spine, coming to that tall spine at the top, placing that circle to the side. We can bring those feet flat on the mat. We can bring those hands behind our shoulders, fingers either facing forwards or to the side if you find that easier on your wrists. And then we can open up through the chest so we're not sinking and slumping our shoulders down. We can push the floor away so our shoulders are down away from our ears. Exhale, tuck under with the pelvis as you lift those hips, reach into this reverse tabletop. Inhale, lower the hips to hover just off the mat. Exhale, reaching and pushing through. Inhale to lower. The whole time we want to think of growing taller with that chest. So even as you're lowering those hips, think of that chest growing taller. Reaching through and lowering to touch. Holding here. Now we can go for some tricep dips, pulsing down and down, shoulders staying away from those ears still. Think of those elbows drifting back behind you rather than out towards the sides. Now let's combine those movements. So lifting the hips into that reverse tabletop, lowering the hips, tricep dip, exhale, lifting the hips again. Lowering, tricep dip. Lift the hips, lower, tricep dip. Alternating between the two, still keeping those shoulders down, hips lifted and level, pressing through the floor with your heels. We've got 4 more like this before you can rest those wrists. Last 3, lowering the hips, tricep dip, pushing up. Last 2. Keep breathing through this. Last 1. Lower those hips down, release those wrists, and maybe shake them off, twisting in both directions. Maybe interlacing those fingers and just doing some circles through the wrists. And then we can come back into that position when you're ready. Hands behind your shoulders, fingertips facing forwards. Exhaling, bringing up those hips. And then we can extend that right leg forwards. Exhale as you lift. Inhale, tap the toes. Exhale to lift. Inhale to tap. We want to keep the shoulders pressing forwards, chest forwards. Option if you want, extending that left leg. Keeping that right leg moving. If you feel any pain through that left knee, maybe keep it bent. If not, keep it straight. Last one. Lowering that foot down and then switching over, starting with that right knee bent, left leg extended as we exhale to lift. Inhale, tap those left toes. Keeping that chest pushing through. Also the option this side, extending that right leg, keeping that left leg lifting up and down, pushing through those hands, keeping those hips lifted. Last one. Lower those hips and again just releasing off those wrists, shaking in both directions. And then when you're ready, we can roll forwards and come into a kneeling position. We're going to grab hold of that circle and bring it towards our chest and then tuck under with that pelvis. So we want that tailbone directly underneath us. So we're going for that slight posterior tilt rather than an anterior one. And then we're going to keep that posterior tilt as we lean away and reach that circle forwards. Exhale as we draw ourselves back in, circle towards the chest. So we're keeping that nice hinge through our body, leaning that chest away but still keeping that tuck under with that pelvis. We're careful we're not arching through that lower back. We should really be feeling this through the quads, maybe fighting for a little bit more depth each time as we reach away and then draw back in. Last one, as we reach away, this time we're going to hold it back there. Draw that circle in towards the chest and exhale round to your right. Inhale back through the center and then exhale over towards the left. So we're staying in that hinged back position and just adding these rotations this time. Rotating through that torso, tucking under with that pelvis still. Last one each side, through the center, last one to the left. Back through the center and releasing, coming forwards, and this time we'll send those hips backwards, reaching forwards with the circle as we do so. Reaching and extending, drawing it back in as we exhale. Inhale to send those hips back, reach those arms forwards, exhale, draw back in. Those hips are hovering just off the heels each time, so we're never resting down. We're staying active through the whole movement. Last one, we hold it back, pulse those hips, drawing down, down, down. For 3, 2, and 1. Keeping those hips hovering, draw that circle in towards the chest. This time pulsing in with those arms, pulsing in, in, in. Now we're going to keep that tension into the circle as we lift the right side of the hip and then the left side of the hip. Swiveling those hips side to side, lifting and lowering. Think of reaching that hip up towards the elbow and then to the other side, lifting and lowering. Switch and switch. And switch, and switch, just shifting side to side, keeping that tension through the circle, and then releasing that circle in front as we hinge backwards again, going for this movement again, tucking under with that pelvis as you reach that circle away, drawing it back through the chest. Inhale to reach, exhale to draw in. We're going to go for 5 more like this, reaching away, keeping that posterior tilt, drawing back in. maybe stretching even further each time. Last 3, reaching. Last 2. And one last one. Drawing yourself back in. And then we can swivel ourselves round facing the long side of our mat. And then we'll just extend one leg out. And that opposite hand is going to reach away, the hand on top of the circle. So we're pulling in both directions. That top hand can come to that top hip. And then we're going to pull away from the floor with that underneath waist. So we're keeping active through the upper body, through the obliques. That top leg can hover just off the mat as we reach it off. Inhale, tap it back down. Exhale as we lift. Inhale to tap. So we want to stay active through the core. So we're not letting that waist sink as we lift the leg. So the leg might not be so high, but we want to feel it through the upper side of the glute while keeping the torso still. Last one here. And then we're going to hold it up at the top. Feel that burn through the top of the glute. Reach that top arm away. Holding for a moment. Then lowering both down. Bringing that circle above the head in both hands. And then reaching up and over away from that extended leg. Exhale back through the center. Inhale as you reach. Exhale to extend. Fighting to keep that posterior tilt. So that small tuck under with that pelvis. And then keeping those arms in line with those ears. But if you find that your shoulders are bunching up towards your ears, maybe drift those arms a little bit further in front of your head, just in your eye line, to keep those shoulders down. Last one, we hold it over to the side, keeping that lean as we rotate our torso towards the ground and then up towards the sky. Option, keep going with arms extended, or option, bring that circle towards the chest and do your rotations here. So with the arms extended, you'll have a longer lever. We'll make this movement slightly harder, so choose your option here. We just want to focus on keeping that lean over that bent knee and then getting that full rotation, shining the chest towards the mat and then towards the sky. Last one, coming back through the center and then switching over, extending that opposite leg out long and then switching the circle into the other hand, placing it down on the mat with a slight pressure into the circle to hold it in place. And that top hand coming towards the top hip. We can again extend that top leg up as we exhale, inhale, tap it down. Tucking under with that pelvis as we do so, looking straight ahead, keeping that chest open, that torso still, and just hinging from that hip downwards. So that torso staying still. So if I was just to look at your torso without seeing your legs, I wouldn't know that you were moving. Feeling the burn in the upper side of that hip. Last one. And holding it at the top. Reaching that top arm up and overhead, reaching it away from that foot. And then releasing both the arm and the leg. Bringing that circle in towards the center above our head again. Reaching that chest over, up and over, back through the center. Up and over, exhaling through the center. Also, again, the option if you want to bring that circle towards your chest so you have less of a lever to play with, if not keeping those arms extended. Slight tuck under with that pelvis still. We'll finish off our last 3 before holding to the side. Last 2. And last one. Rotating that torso down towards the mat and then up towards the sky. So holding that lean. And looking towards the mat and up towards the sky. Let that chest lead the movement. Using the breath. Finishing our last 2 here. Opening up, getting that full opening of the chest. Last one as we rotate down. Open back up towards the sky. And then coming back up through the center. Releasing those shoulders down and swiveling ourselves around, coming to face the front of our mat again. We're going to come into this all fours position with those shoulders over those wrists and just take a nice cat and cow stretch. So opening up as we inhale, pushing that chest through. And then exhale, tucking under with the pelvis, pulling the belly button up, curving under. Inhale, opening up, shining that breastbone forwards, looking towards the sky. Exhale, pulling that belly button up. Imagine being punched in the stomach as you curve over. Just flowing forwards and backwards. Getting as much range as you can. And then we'll walk our hands over towards the left. Do the same thing here. Some cat and cows in this direction. So now we should be feeling it more down the right hand side of the body, feeling that really nice stretch. And let the breath aid your movement through this. And then we'll walk those hands over towards the right. Cat and cows in this direction, feeling that stretch down the left hand side of the body. Opening up through the neck, through those ribs, through the upper back, through the lower back, through the mid back, through those sides and the obliques. And then working your way up to a kneeling position, we're going to bring that right foot in front and just stretch off through those hips. So tucking under with those hips and then just shifting those hips forwards, leaning into it, this small half lunge, stretching off through that left hip flexor and then releasing, sending back. Just moving in and out of this. Gently releasing through that left hip flexor. And then maybe holding onto that left foot as well so we can get a stretch through that left quad. The more you tuck under with that pelvis, the more we can send that stretch towards the hip flexor. And then shifting the legs over, bringing that left foot forward this time. Just starting by moving forwards and backwards, moving through that right hip. Just easing into this stretch before we can then grab hold of that right foot and turn this into a quad stretch if you wish, tucking under with that pelvis. Just a few breaths here. And then we can release that foot down, send both feet back, and just drop those hips back down onto those heels, walking those fingertips forwards, dropping that forehead down towards the mat, resting in this child's pose position. Just slowing down the breath, breathing into the sides of the ribs, breathing into the back of the rib cage, breathing into the whole of the rib cage, that three-dimensional shape. And then when you feel ready, maybe slowly rolling up through the spine, lifting that head last, and we're finished. Thank you all for joining me. Well done everyone, and I hope to see you next time.